Hello, welcome back to Toy Thursday with Johnny Tiger. The date is June 25th, 2020. Since we're quarantined or locked down or trying to stay away from people, it is a good time to do something geeky and fun. And today, we are doing our own version of the action figure beauty pageant. Right in front of you is a lady that by all means should have been in the top 5 hottest, sexiest, prettiest action figure female, at least in the 6 to 7 inch scale. Uh, this lady should be on that list, but have never made it onto that list. But I'm using her as runners up and also to set a standard uh, for what is to come. This is a 7-inch action figure of Mai Shiranyu from the King of Fighter video game made by BBI Toy in the early 2000s. Mai Shiranyu is a Asian or Japanese ninja girl clad in a very skimpy outfit. A lot of her material are very rubbery, as like the tail of her dress, very rubbery and kind of floppy. Same with the front part of her dress. The shoulder portion of her dress is also soft rubber. Uh, I'm not going to move it or anything, otherwise this video will have to get censored. Suffice to say, she was made with a lot of sex appeal in mind. Now, why I say that Mai Shiranyu should have been on the list? Because I think if you ask video game players, gamers around the world, who are their top pick as the hottest female characters around, Mai Shiranyu probably will always appear, if not among the top 5, at least among the top 10. A lot of people a lot of guys from my generation grew up drooling, fantasizing about this character. She was one of the earliest characters in video game history that had the bounce factor applied to her graphic. Uh, let's just say her body parts moved and swayed and bounced very realistically during her fights in her game. Um, I myself like this figure quite a bit. She is very shapely and she is very well articulated. She's articulated at the waist, at the hips, at the arms, and she has a little fan in her hand, folding fan, that is her trademark weapon in the game. Her wrists are also articulated, and her head. And that hair is pretty gorgeous. Just love that long hair and very well designed action figure. And uh, unlike a lot of other female action figures, she is very sturdy actually. Uh, Her construction is such that I would be surprised if she breaks. Knock on wood. I would hate to have to fix her up because something happened. But anyway, as I said, she was made by BBI Toy a company that almost no one ever heard of, which I think might have been one of the downfall why she never made it onto the top sexiest or prettiest female action figure list. It's because she's from a game that is not quite as popular in North America uh, or Europe. She is made by a company that virtually no one's ever heard of. And she was a little bit on the pricey side. Uh, and I guess you can count her as a Japanese import. So all the factors kind of stacked up against her to have a wide audience. A lot of people never even knew this action figure existed. But in fact, there is a 12-inch version of her that I've wanted to get my hands on for a long time, but have not been able to yet. I just have this little 7-inch version of the Ninja Girl, but she, I believe, sets a nice tone for today's beauty pageant. Now with that, we're going to go right into pick number 5 of the top 5 best looking, sexiest, prettiest action figure, female action figure that has appeared on multiple lists from multiple people on the internet. No matter if you agree or disagree with the choices, uh, feel free to let me know in the comments. And obviously, I will give you my personal thoughts as well. Number 5 on our list is Queen Gorgo from the movie 300. She has appeared on many top list of best looking female action figures of all time. This action figure stands around 3 inches, actually 7 inches, sorry. And she is made by NECA, currently very strong, very good company. If you want action figures that have high display value, very good realism, and very good uh, articulation, NECA is the way to go. Queen Gorgo was made back in, again, the early 2000s, when NECA still didn't really know how to make useful articulation. So she is actually more of a statue than an action figure. But she is very well sculpted, giving you guys a side view. Her gown or robe or whatever you would call this thing that she's wearing is just really well done. There's a lot of plastic going into making the robe or the uh, garment she's wearing. There's a lot of folds and wrinkles and the cloak over the top. And also, in contrast to a lot of female action figures, she is more realistically proportioned. Her body is more strongly built and full, and not skinny and uh, Barbie-like like a lot of female characters. A very strongly made action figure. Her hair is very nice. The hair comes down to almost all the way to her hip. And I really like the way how her cloak or robe draped over her right arm like that. Like I said, she's more of a statue than an action figure because you can't really get her into any other pose. But the pose she's in is really nice, really dynamic. So do I think that she deserved her spot on the list? Definitely. Uh, I can't personally speak for if she is pretty or not. One thing about being blind and it come to uh, beauty is we go by tactile. So uh, when I put my hand on this action figure, I definitely don't really think beautiful. I'm more thinking well made. Uh, as far as facial feature go, to my finger, I can't really say if they feel pretty or not. I can say she's well formed and uh, definitely well made, and her garment, her clothes, really detailed. I like that, and she feels like there's a lot of plastic put into making her, which always makes me feel a little bit better. Uh, more money worth the money that went to purchasing her. Now we move on to place number four. Number four on our list of the best looking female action figure of all time. And no, this is not Catwoman. This is Lady Death from, well, the Chaos comic, a Lady Death comic. Uh, I really don't know that much about the character. I know that Lady Death was a human girl named Hope, and then she somehow got sacrificed by a bunch of angry villagers. Uh, I think her dad had something to do with it. I can't remember for sure though, but I think yeah, I think her dad caused her being hunted down and burned alive, and then she went into hell and learned how to fight and became one of the archdemon or demoness and started calling herself Lady Death. Um, the comic was basically about her fighting various battles in hell. This action figure is, well, very sharp. And I mean that literally. Look at all the spikes on this action figure. She got spikes on her shield, spikes on her arm, and even her hair looked kind of spiky. Uh, a lot of my friends mistakenly thinking that this is some version of Catwoman because of her helmet or mask, make her look a little bit Catwoman-like. Uh, but this is an interesting action figure. This is definitely not child friendly. In fact, I would say when you handle this action figure, you have to be careful because of how sharp these spikes are, and you can definitely puncture yourself with these. She was made by More Action Collectibles, one of the best, if not the best, company in making gorgeous looking female action figures. Now, I didn't realize how good looking this Lady Death action figure was until a lot of my friends reacted to her. They say they really like how the coloration, I guess she's kind of clear, transparent, or azure, uh, and just a very striking action figure with some really good detailed sculpt. She's holding a sword in her left hand, and a huge spiked shield is clipped to her right arm. She can't really move much. I think, yeah, her head can move a little bit, but because of her long hair, you can't really move it much. And then you have her hips can move forward and back, and then her arms can move up and down. So 5 points of articulation, and that's it. This is definitely more of a display piece than a toy for a child, although technically speaking, if you're buying Lady Death for your children, then I would think there's something wrong with your parenting skill because the comic of Lady Death is definitely not child friendly, and the action figure uh, are not really either. Lady Death and a lot of associated comic with Lady Death and that era were made with a lot of sex appeal in mind, with a lot of nudity, a lot of things that best left alone by children. Uh, just saying. But definitely a very striking and beautiful action figure. I like it a lot personally because of, well, I always have a thing for uh, female warriors, female fighters, both in real life and in action figure form. And a demonic uh, female with a sword and shield and in spiked armor is definitely up my alley. Next up, we have number three on the list. And number three on the list is from none other than Todd McFarlane. I have to handle this one carefully because uh, her display falls apart very easily. Look at that. Now this is how you make a display piece of an action figure. No matter if this is truly beautiful or not, although by all accounts she is gorgeous, that display base is just amazing. Um, she is Sydney Savage from the Danger Girl comic book, and as I said, made by Todd McFarlane, one of my favorite action figure makers of all time. She is an Australian spy female, and she is dressed in a very skimpy catsuit, I guess. I think that's what it is. It's a leather catsuit, and she's holding a bull whip in her hand. And just look at the grace and the lines in her body. This is a very well made female action figure that definitely pay attention to how a human body would look when they move. And look at, again, I must draw your attention to the display base. Look at the little koala bear on the back, sitting on the piece of log here. And look at the little alligator on the base, right beside her foot. This is just, I know this is kind of a stereotypical, kind of racist maybe, like, uh, she's an Australian character, so they got her uh, displayed with a koala bear and all kind of stuff. But this display base just makes you feel you really got your money worth. You got a beautiful female action figure, and you have a display base with an alligator and a koala bear. And I'm not sure, but I think there is a snake at the base of the log by my left hand here. Uh, that's what it feels like anyway. So really well made. One of my favorite female action figures. If I had my way, I would put her at place number one, but to most people, she's not quite that beautiful. Uh, why I like her? Because of the detailed display base she comes with, and uh, again, I like this kind of a strong, very dynamic female action figure. Very nice. Number two on our list is an action figure that, again, is by more action collectibles and has often been said to be one of the, if not the, prettiest action figure of all time. But personally, this action figure gave me a lot of grief. This is the golden version, the gold version, I think. I think it's a gold version. I can't remember though. Maybe one of you can confirm for me on it. This is Witchblade from the Witchblade Image comic book. There was a Witchblade TV series as well, and actually it was really good. If you guys like the kind of modern paranormal, uh, um, strong female character fighting off demons and thugs with a mystical weapon, then check it out. Witchblade, I believe it was like from 2006 or something. Now this figure, she is distinguished in that she has a soft cloak. The cloak here is a soft material and actually feels really nice, really smooth, very soft. She's another female warrior, but comparing to all the ones previously shown, she's a little bit on the small side. She's only, I think, like 5.5 inches tall and rather petite. And she is really, 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 really hard to stand. Um, she's one of those action figures that just topples over if you even look at her the wrong way. Probably a good thing that I can't really look at her, but you get my drift. Personally speaking, I find her just okay. Um, she's small and she's detailed. She has a nice cloak or cape, and she has a huge weapon, a huge bladed weapon in her hand. But personally, I just find as an action figure goes, she is a little bit on the boring side. Not very dynamic, not very impressive to the touch or to the feel, and she falls over a lot, which is very annoying. And now we have number one. See, on many internet lists, number one best looking, most sought after female action figure of all time. And no, it is not Princess Leia in a slave outfit. This is probably a character that no one even ever heard of. This is also made by Todd McFarlane. This is a character known as Dawn, and I really don't know much about her. I think she is some kind of goddess uh, or warrior or angel or something. Her background is kind of complicated and there's not a lot written about it, so I can't really tell you much. But she is, again, on a very detailed display base. Actually, I'm going to show you guys the base before we take a closer look at the figure. Uh, Look at that. On the display base, there's a tree, tentacle, whatever that is. It's like a demonic tree coming out of the uh, base with a sword. And I believe that's her sword that sticking out of it. So I think the idea is she just killed something with a sword. You can actually take the sword out of the trunk of the thing, or at least you could. Uh, it's not coming out. Ah, there we go. There we go. Phew, I thought I was going to break it. Anyway, stick it back in there. Really nice. It got, again, we got quite a bit of plastic, quite a bit of detail for the money. Now, this was made, I believe, in the early 2000s or late 90s. Here is Dawn herself standing on her display base. Quite a stunning action figure. She's, again, like a lot of McFarlane's action figures, she's more strongly built than a lot of your modern, like Superwoman or Wonder Woman or that type. Uh, and she is not overly skimpy, like she's not clad like skimpy or anything. She's actually quite practical the way she's dressed, which is quite different in the action figure world, full of sex appeals and things that made to be appealing to horny teenagers. I was told that her top, her shirt, is semi-translucent or something. Uh, Again, can't really confirm that myself, but I was told that this is a very gorgeous looking action figure. Turning her around so you get a back view. Now, do I think that Dawn deserves to be the first on the top list of the best looking action figure, female action figure of all time? Uh, Personally, as a blind person, she feels cool. She definitely has a lot going on with her display stand and her uh, clothes and details and but again, she's a little bit on the boring side. There's not a lot you can do with her. She doesn't have a really cool backstory or anything. Uh, she just kind of poses nice and is make a nice little statue on the shelf. And we're going to leave her there for a little while so you guys can admire what a lot of people think as the best looking female action figure uh, out there. Keep in mind, like I said earlier, the list is often a little bit skewed or biased just because the Asian action figures don't get enough representation in these on these lists. I didn't mean to make this racist, but I guess you can look at it that way. Uh, but rather than racist, it's really about availability. You know, action figures that get noticed a lot, that go on the top list, quite often is because they are what people see more often. And the expensive $200, $300 Japanese import, a lot of people will not spend money to buy them, and so a lot of people are not going to be exposed to them. So they're not going to get noticed and get put on the list at all. Speaking of being sexist, an interesting trend, and if you look at action figure lines and cartoons, uh, there is kind of a sexist trend going on. It's getting better now, but it's still there. Is action figure makers don't like to put a lot of female in their uh, action figure lines. Usually you'll get like uh, 3 or 4 male characters to 1 female character. I mean, obviously, it's different if you are going after lines such as Monster High or Wonder Woman uh, or Danger Girl uh, or Lady Death, because those have a main focus on females. But if you look at like generally speaking, Ninja Turtle, for example, Batman, Superman, Avengers, Spider-Man, there's always a lack of female characters, whether it be in the comic book, in the cartoon, or even in the action figure line. In fact, much earlier in the 90s, there were a lot of action figure makers, a lot of companies that claimed they didn't want to make female action figures because female action figures didn't sell. And that was completely false because every time there's an female action figure in the line, that's usually the first one to sell out. So that proves that action figure collectors and people who play with action figures, children who play with action figures, they are interested in having that female in their collection. So I hope that more and more will see more interesting, dynamic, and well-designed female action figures on the market. Uh, One of my friends joked with me before. He says, "Johnny, how come you have nothing but monsters and semi-naked women in your collection?" Well, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but uh, I do have a lot of gorgeous, gorgeous looking female action figures in my collection. And maybe if you stick with Toy Thursday long enough, you'll get to see more of them. Thank you for checking out today's Toy Thursday. We'll be back again tomorrow for Fitness Friday. For now, stay safe, stay strong, and have a good night.